Hi everyone, I'm Lucena Herrera and we're back with another episode. Today we are privileged to have, quite frankly, one of the best color analysts in the NBA, Jim Barnett. This is WarriorsWorld TV.
WarriorsWorld.net. Welcome to the site. And they say we underdogs, but the dogs still bite. You see the game last night? Fourth quarter, pulled it off, never giving up a fight. This ain't no bandwagon, this is for the true. And I'm sticking to my team, good, bad, win or lose. Keep you updated with the late breaking news. Gotta give a shout out to the champagne room. My homeboy Dale, my main man She. It's something you gotta see, WarriorsWorld TV. Strictly for the pros, this ain't nothing for the amateurs. Dunking on suckers, then I pose for the camera. Playing every game like we put it on the line. Never scared of competition, go hard every time. Die hard fans, we ain't got no shame. And it's clear that we all got game. It's the Warriors World. Put your hands up high to the sky if you a warrior feeling like me. It's the Warriors World. Good, bad, win or lose, ride or die to the end. It's whatever's gonna be. It's the Warriors World. We gon' give it all we got till we fall, till we fail, till we run out of luck. It's the Warriors World. Come peep out the #1 website, Warriors World. We got suck. It's the Warriors World.
Hey everybody, I'm here with Jim Barnett on WarriorsWorld TV. Thank you and welcome.
Lucena, nice to be with you today.
It's nice to be with you. You're awesome, pretty good.
Well, yeah, we're here at the Warriors facility, and it's kind of fun. You watched a little practice, didn't you?
I did watch a little bit of the practice. They were working really hard. How'd you check them out?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's hard to remember me playing like that hard after a game. You play, 45 minutes in a game like a lot of these guys have been doing, and then come the next day, your legs are weary, and it's hard to get warmed up. But once you do, I guess when you're young, you can do it.
Yeah, and you know what? Speaking of that, we're gonna jump back to 1966. Okay. Okay, with you. That was a big year for you, right?
And that's a big jump.
Right? I don't have my bell buttons on or my afro, but we're going to jump back to the 60s right now. We're going to jump back. 1966 was the year you got drafted.
Yes.
You were the 8th overall pick.
Correct.
In the NBA draft. Do you still remember your emotions of getting picked?
Yeah, I do. First of all, I thought I would go, there were only 10 teams in the league then, so I thought I would go in the second round possibly, but I played really well in the East-West College All-Star game and was leading scorer for the West, and I think that kind of boosted me to the first round. I had no idea it was going to be the Boston Celtics, who was they were a storied franchise that won 8 straight championships, so that was really cool. But I was still very, very scared, and I went back and signed my contract, which, by the way, was a total of $11,000 and a $500 signing bonus, and not guaranteed. The $500 was when I signed the contract, but it was so I didn't really make $1,000 a month the entire year, and when I played for the Celtics. But no, it was very exciting. But there wasn't a guarantee that I would make the team. You had to go there, and there were a lot of people in camp that you had to beat out, and so it was dog eat dog. It was a whole different era.
So what would you say would be the biggest difference between, you would say, the drafts back in 1966 to the drafts now?
Well, no one really cared about the draft. It wasn't publicized. In fact, 3 years earlier, Nate Thurmond was the 3rd overall pick for the then San Francisco Warriors. And someone came up to him at college at Bowling Green University and said, "Hey, Nate, you're picked by the San Francisco Warriors in the first round today in the draft." He said, "Well, I didn't even know the draft was going on."
Oh.
And so I got a call, this is interesting, from the Boston Globe, from the sports editor, and we were talking for about 10 minutes. He said, "Hey Jim, congratulations, you're the #1 pick of the Boston Celtics." We talked on and on and on, and he said, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Sure." He said, "Are you black or white?" That's how small it was in that era. He didn't even know who I was. He knew I was a draft pick from the University of Oregon, but he didn't know whether I was Caucasian, Hispanic, Afro-American. And of course, they didn't call it that in those days. They said black. So that's how naive it was.
Wow. I mean, that's crazy. I would see now, from then to now, it's a huge jump. I mean, you see the NBA is everywhere, all over ESPN, all over the television. I mean, they make this huge deal. Everyone wants to go to the NBA, the draft.
All the potential #1 draft picks are in New York at the time for the draft, so they can go up to the podium and things like that. It just was very different in those days.
Do you ever go to the NBA draft and go, "Man, I didn't have all this. Do you guys know how lucky you guys are? I had what was it, $11,000?
$11,000.
$11,000, and these guys are coming out with multi-million-dollar contracts.
It's a different era. I don't regret anything at all. I played in a great era. Of all the 50 greatest players of all time, when they chose that team about 10 years ago, 10 of those players were teammates of mine. I played with or against 34 of them. It was a great era for basketball. You know, it was still, we played for the love of the game because money was a byproduct. The money eventually came, but not like it is today. So I think the players have a very different perspective on it today, obviously, and everybody has guaranteed contracts. But you can't worry about that, and you can't be jealous of that at all. It's just big. The game has been marketed, and it's been very successful, and I'm happy for the guys. I do sometimes wish they would appreciate it a little bit more, but the values and life has changed. This is a whole different society, and I think professional athletes are an extension of society as a whole at large. And you know, we could go and talk about this philosophy and socialization for a long time, Lucinda.
We sure can, Jim. Also, the style of play.
Oh.
The style of play was probably, you would say, different.
Yes.
From back when you played to now. So back when you played, how do you characterize your style of play, and what were your strengths and weaknesses?
That's a very good question. When I played, we played more individual defense. And the biggest difference I see between 30, 40 years ago and now, we played individual defense. We didn't expect a lot of help, and we played team offense. Today, they play team defense and individual offense. There's a lot more one-on-one play. These players are much greater athletes than we were. They're better athletes. They're not better basketball players. The fundamentals are not nearly as well served to the players as they were in my day. We all went to college for 4 years. You had to do that. You couldn't go to the NBA out of high school. You could not play in the NBA, it was a rule, until your high school class graduated from college. Even if you couldn't make it in college, you had to wait the 4 years. And we were all raised in a whole different thing. They didn't have the AAU when you're 12 and 13 and 14. And we had coaching, and so we learned fundamentals. And for the most part, you'll find this hard to believe, we scored a lot more in those days. I never had a three-point line, but we scored more. I played, even in Portland, an expansion team, in 1970, we averaged 115 points a game, okay, which would lead the league today. We gave up 120. Our opponents got 120. We allowed 120. But we averaged 115 points. It wasn't uncommon for teams to average, 120, 122 points a game. We had many times in regulation, I've got stat sheets, we would lose the game 140 to 138 in regulation time with no three-point line because we didn't have the coaches trying to program and hold us back, and they trusted us that we knew how to play, and so we could get our shots off, and it was a much faster game actually.
So can you elaborate a little bit more on that? So what do you see now as the coaches do to the players that they don't score as much?
They control the game, or the coaches slow it down. They want to put their imprint on it. They don't trust the players as much, except the Warriors. Don Nelson does. And the way the Warriors play is actually the way the whole league played back in the 60s and the 70s. There was much more freedom to do that. But you get to the teams like Miami and, New York will play that way also. But there's just not as much freedom to freelance, if you will, on the teams today.